Well, hello. Good
What
morning, good evening, good afternoon.
something catastrophic almost happened.
Yep.
And I know that because Mark said, "Oh, I'm glad I caught that right before we went live." What was it? The sound was the sound off?
It's no PC audio was being sent in, so if I pulled up
Oh,
anything with videos or anything like that, it would have gone straight out the live stream.
oh,
So,
okay. Well, that's not catastrophic.
nah. But risky.
Yeah, yeah. Happy Friday, guys. We are going to be answering your questions from the chat today. We do that at the end of every single live stream every Friday, but we usually are only able to answer so many because we usually have a topic. And every few months, I like to do one of these just completely open live streams where you have our full attention and you can ask us anything you want related to Etsy, SEO. You can ask us ERank questions. For those who are new here, let us know if this is your first time hanging out with us.
Can ask us personal questions.
Yeah, sure. But Mark and I are both managers over at ERank.com. So you can ask us questions about ERank. We'll do our best to answer them. There are a couple tools that I just don't use them even as a manager. So I'll answer most of your questions to the best of my abilities. We're happy to answer questions about marketing. Yeah, but if this is your first time here, make sure that you also expand the video description because there's tons of freebies down there. My Etsy SEO toolbox, 99% of the questions that I get asked here on YouTube about SEO are covered in that toolbox. And I don't know if it's just like fear of the unknown or everybody thinks that, oh, this isn't, it's one of those webinars where there's a sales pitch at the end. That's not what it is.
No, not at all.
It's actually all of my best SEO resources, my best SEO videos in the exact order that I recommend watching them. So make sure that you check that out. There's a PDF in there. There are a bunch of videos. There's one specifically for POD. There is a 20-minute masterclass in there that talks about how Etsy's algorithm works. And there's a bunch of other freebies down there too. There's the 30-day Instagram challenge kit and marketing calendars. There's a bunch of stuff. So make sure that you check that out down below. We'll go ahead and grab some of the questions that were submitted before we started streaming. But yeah, you guys are free to ask us anything. You've got our attention for about an hour and a half.
Only problem is there's one question up above in this, and I can't get to it because the thing's in the way. Can I hide this? No.
No, there's no way to hide it.
Unfortunately, whoever asked the thing about the EU or whatever first question in there, I can't see it. YouTube's not letting me. Well, maybe over here. Something listings for US marketing this week. I've started to add listings yeah, I can't.
Yeah, there's
okay. What advertising for Etsy shop works best without cost of advertising with Etsy?
Okay, so you want to advertise with no cost. There are 3 forms of traffic for Etsy. There is organic traffic, which is traffic from SEO, making sure that you're doing your search engine optimization. Again, free SEO toolkit down below. So that is people that are already shopping on Etsy. Then you have external traffic. That is your traffic from external marketing. And when I say marketing, people assume I mean ads. I don't mean ads. I mean social media, posting frequently, building a cadence on your social media platforms, posting consistently. I recommend if you are new and you want to get started with social media marketing, but you aren't sure where to start or what's best, the 2 easiest to start with are Instagram. I always talk about that because Instagram is very easy to start with. You don't have to have a lot of skills. If you're making Instagram reels, that content is being distributed out to a wide audience of people who don't already follow you without having to pay. That's normally what you pay for, right? With ads, you pay for your content to be shown to people who don't follow you. Instagram reels do that. So Instagram is probably my number one. It has been for the last year and a half. There's a free Instagram challenge kit down below that'll help you build 30 days worth of Instagram content. And then Pinterest as well, because pins are evergreen. You do have to make sure that you are search engine optimizing things like your pin title, your pin descriptions, your pin alt text. You might want to keyword optimize that, making sure that you're actually linking that pin to one of your Etsy listings. Pinterest is also a great avenue, but both Pinterest and Instagram are going to require their own little bit of research, and they both have to be visually enticing pieces of content. So you can't just throw up, anything and expect it to do well. Each is going to have its own set of guidelines that you're going to want to follow. I just personally find Instagram to be the easiest to start with. All right.
Question. I posted a reel yesterday and it got 0 views for 6 hours. None. I deleted it and reposted it and it's getting a few. Why would that happen? That sounds like a goof in the algorithm because
I'm gonna assume that you keyword optimized your caption. Always check your prime posting times in your actual Instagram analytics. It's kind of weird because we're told to make sure that we're posting at prime times, and we can see from our analytics what the best time to post is based on when our followers are most active. But it's a little bit weird because our Instagram reels aren't necessarily just being shown to the people who already follow us. So I can't really give you an answer. I'm glad that it's now gaining a little bit of traction. But I would definitely try to post at the times when it says that your audience is most active, because Instagram is giving us that information for a reason. So try to line up with those timeframes as best as you can and see if you can get, future reels to do better than that one that didn't do so well.
could you summarize what ERank actually does?
Yeah, ERank does a lot of things. The main reason that you want to use ERank is for keyword research, for your SEO, search engine optimization. When you're filling out an Etsy listing, you have your Etsy title and your Etsy tags that are sending signals to the Etsy algorithm in order for the Etsy algorithm to show what it is that you're selling to the correct type of person. So if you are selling a red mug, you want Etsy to know that you're selling a red mug so that someone searching for a red mug can find that red mug. And you have to use the exact words that shoppers are searching for, right? You might assume that people are searching for red mug. Maybe they're not. Maybe for some reason they're all searching for crimson mug, and you would have never known that unless you had the data behind what people are actually searching for. ERank provides you with that data so that you can choose the best possible keywords to put in your title and tags. And again, definitely get the SEO toolbox down below, because there's no way that during a quick Q&A session like this, I could explain how to do SEO step by step, but that's literally why I made that free toolbox. It tells you everything you need to do and everything you need to know.
Is it okay to change the title of a bestseller if there's a new phrase trending? Just a few words, not the entire title. No. Don't touch anything that's selling well.
Don't touch things that are selling well. Don't touch things that are selling well. If you are willing to risk cutting off all traffic to that listing with the potential that you mess something up, even if you think that you're not, because I know that in our brains we think, oh, we can safely remove this term because, I don't see any traffic coming from it. But you don't actually know what combinations of terms you're broad matching for. Don't touch your bestsellers unless you are willing to risk potentially losing traffic on them. And, not, was it last week that I created that 3 Etsy SEO mistakes? Is that this week's video?
I can't remember. We do so much. I don't.
No, it wasn't. It was the week before. There's a video of me crying beside an Etsy headstone. If you go into my videos, watch that. I talk about the 3 mistakes that you should never make when it comes to Etsy SEO, and that's like one of my number 1 mistakes. Don't touch the tags and titles of listings that are performing well. And I go through a whole breakdown of how you can accidentally cut off traffic through terms that you might have been broad matching for without even realizing it. So definitely check that out, but I would not recommend it unless you are willing to potentially risk not getting any traffic for that listing anymore.
I wanted to ask how to reset my Etsy ads. It seems like the algorithm's broken, as if it's shadow banning you, but isn't. I doubt that unless you're selling adult products or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Resetting your Etsy ads isn't a thing. You can turn them off and turn them back on again, which is the
unless you make over $10,000.
Well, that's for offsite ads. That's offsite ads. That's a separate thing. I'm assuming you don't mean offsite ads. You mean your normal ads. Turn them off and turn them back on again. But really, there's no resetting your Etsy ads. You keep in mind that Etsy ads are not a magic fix to a listing that isn't selling. If your thumbnails aren't enticing, it doesn't matter if people are seeing it. They might not click on it. And you might think that your thumbnails are great, and they might look nice. But it doesn't mean that it's the thumbnail in comparison with all the other listings on a search page that customers are going to click on. So try little things, swap out thumbnails. You know, your SEO still has to be good in order to ensure that that listing is, you know, still being shown in searches for what you want to be known for, even with the ads. So you do have to have a couple solid structures in place to ensure that that listing is primed to sell before advertising it. That's why we typically recommend only advertising your best sellers, because you know that those listings are already going to do well without ad money. And that means that it's a sure thing, right? You know that this listing is primed to sell. It has done well in the past. You put a little bit of money behind it. It has the potential to do even better. Otherwise, you're just kind of gambling and playing with your money, which is fine. It's okay to experiment, but there is always the risk of, like you said, not actually making a return on your investment.
For a new POD store, niche versus general, what do you recommend?
Niche. Always
niche.
Go to Printify's YouTube channel, and then click on their live tab. Like when you go to see all their videos, it'll say like uploads, you know, playlists, live. Click on the one that says live, or just search Starla Moore Printify up in your YouTube search bar and watch my most recent webinar with them. I do an entire webinar about why niches are so important, even with print on demand. And I was there speaking on behalf of Printify, and they agree. Niches are important. So niche, absolutely.
Peach Cobbler said ads boost sales. They don't create them.
That's true. That's true. That's a good way to see it.
How would you recommend a beginner with a few sales on 100+ listings to set their ads budget?
I've kind of talked about that a little bit already. Look at what's already selling. Those are your surefire products. I always talk about, you know, betting on your winning racehorses. If you go to a horse race, and you're trying to decide which horse to bet on, and you're looking up at the board, and you're looking at all the different horses, you know, down in the field, you're going to bet on the horse that you know has a record of winning races, because that horse is most likely to make you your money back. You're not going to bet on the horse that's never won a race before, that's walking around with a gimpy leg, right? You're going to bet on the horse that is known to win.
You might.
Well, I'm
betting on Gimpy.
Yeah, I'm betting on Gimpy. And you know, it's okay to experiment if you list something new and you want to put a little bit of money behind it, you want to play with it, but that is gambling ultimately.
It really is, yeah.
If you bet on the listings that you know are proven to do well, then you already know that there's demand there. It's a surefire product, so you're more likely to make your money back.
Any recent video games y'all have been enjoying? Her, not so much, but obviously Jedi Survivor because dork mode, and No Man's Sky has been my kind of peace of mind zone out game. Are we allowed to start a Bubbers cult? No, that's for me.
Where is he?
However, you can get on Instagram and look up the hashtag the magical Bubbers, hashtag the magical Bubbers, and that's where I post all of my pictures of him. Is it better to have a long run-on sentence for listings or break it up with commas?
Break it up with commas if you're keyword stuffing your title. The commas don't mean anything. It just looks really ugly to your customers. Either way, Etsy's algorithm is going to see what you want to be known for. They're going to be able to identify your keywords. But it does look really gross to your customers who click on your listing and your title is just blah, 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 blah. So I recommend it because it looks nicer. But either way,
to me, when I see it without any commas or anything breaking it up, it just kind of seems like you made a bunch of different shops and you just have copy and paste sentences that you've made for a bunch of different things that you're just pasting in everywhere.
Yeah. It definitely looks more professional to try to break it up, to try to make it look like it makes sense, because the algorithm doesn't care either way.
How often should I upload products to Etsy? When I look at products in stores that are Etsy's pick, I sometimes see half of what we're talking about isn't even there.
So what your frequency of uploads? There is no magical frequency of uploads. There is this new little like make money quick trend going on YouTube with all these, you know, drop shipping bros and all these POD bros that they don't
make money quick losers.
Right. They don't care about building a brand. They're just trying to teach sellers like
make a quick buck.
Right. How to make a quick buck. And they tell you like, put as many listings out as you can. Make listings every day.
And you might make a few grand, but then the brand is going to die and never sell anything else.
Right. If you look at the top sellers on Etsy, which you can do from eRank's top sellers report, and just start looking at the sellers that actually do well, really well, they're sellers who have niches, who have Structured product launches. I mean, if you can launch products whenever you want. My theory is that if it's not listed, then people can't buy it. But there's no magical advantage to the algorithm of listing, 10 products today or listing, one product every day. There's no real advantage there. Just list things. In my coaching program, the Handmade Alpha Academy, I teach product launches where I teach you how to create a brand and build anticipation for new collections that roll out and get your audience through your marketing excited and ready to buy when that launch takes place. And they mark it on their calendars and they're ready to jump on those products. And what this does is, for one, it helps Etsy's algorithm to see, wow, this shop is doing great. Today they launched new products and all those products sold right away. That sends great signals to the algorithm. Whereas people who just kind of sprinkle a listing here, sprinkle a listing there, they're just kind of throwing those out into the Etsy abyss and letting Etsy do what they do with them, which is, move them all around for that first 60 to 90 days. So in terms of the algorithm, it doesn't matter, really. You do whatever you want. You can list whenever, but if it's not listed, then it can't sell. So if you have listings that are ready to list,
Hi, Pam.
List them. But you don't need to follow all this new, upload a listing every day. That's the new strategy. Yeah, it's like, laws of probability. Basically, they're saying if you have more, you're more likely to sell. Well, of course you're more likely to sell, but you know what? You're also going to be spending 20 cents for every single listing that you list, and not all of those are going to sell. So you're also accumulating a massive bill by trying to list the way that some of these people are encouraging you to list. It's just madness.
The marketing bros. I'm getting inundated with those dropship bros. Yeah, chances are if it's a slick back guy that just popped up on social media and is getting 200,000 views, or he wears an Adidas hat in every video. Probably shouldn't listen to that guy. Obviously, I'm stereotyping, and that's stupid. But you get the point.
You guys know the vibe. You guys know the vibe of the bros.
Yeah, quit listening to this Tinder is my girlfriend guys.
Yeah, you don't need to do things like break your back trying to list every day just to try to stay on top.
It ain't about that. And what's Etsy's algorithm's favorite thing? Consistency and best practices. Mm-hmm. And ERank has a tool that'll tell you if you're complying with Etsy's best practices. That's what your grade in ERank is.
Yeah. So there,
as a baseline, at least.
In terms of what the algorithm is going to rank you in search for, I assume that's what you mean by the algorithm's favorite thing. Listing quality score. That is how customers interact with your listing. When your listing sells, when your listing gets good reviews. Those are two of the best signals that you can send to Etsy, because if Etsy says, wow, you've made a sale, I made a sale because Etsy has made a sale at that point, right? You've both made a sale because Etsy gets a little bit of that money. Etsy's more likely to show that listing to more people because Etsy wants to make more money and they want you to make more money. So they're going to take that listing and try showing it to people who have similar interest to the person who just made that purchase. And that's really what keyword consistency is. That's really what, finding good keywords is, and building yourself a niche, and why niches are important. The algorithm likes to figure out what it is that you want to be known for and who they should show your product to. So building up that listing quality score, which is hard because we don't get to see that. That's a secret score that Etsy gives our listings, but we all have felt it, or sellers that have sold things, have felt it. When you'll have a listing that sells, but then that same exact listing will sell mysteriously like the same day or the day after, and you're like, wow, that's a weird coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's Etsy saying, wow, this sold to this person. Let's show it to more people. So sales, good reviews, those are the best signals that you can send to Etsy. Again, if you want to know all about the 7 factors that you can influence to help build your listing quality score and things that influence your rank on Etsy, that's included in the SEO toolbox. It is my Science of Etsy Success Masterclass inside the toolbox, and that kind of talks about Etsy's algorithm and those 7 factors that Etsy tells us about. They have more factors that they don't tell us about, but they do tell us about 7 that we're able to influence and help our listings rank better.
You mentioned not changing titles and tags for 3 months. What if you're not getting views? Do you still recommend holding on changing those titles?
Well, you need to have time for Etsy to recognize what it is that you're selling. It's not 3 months, it's 60 to 90 days is what is the time period that it takes Etsy to kind of figure out what it is that you're selling. I mean, obviously, here's the thing. You're asking if you need to wait for 3 months. No, but if you wait a week, that's not enough time. If you wait 2 weeks, that's not enough time. If you wait a month, that's probably not enough time to assess whether or not your listing is going to do well.
Nope.
There are way better ways to use your time than to sit and constantly tinker. I mean, if you are going on like 2 months and you haven't seen any progress, sure, you could probably start tinkering if you wanted to. But you can't be in there tinkering every day because Etsy's not going to know where to put you. They don't know what you want to be known for. So they don't know who to show your listings to if you're constantly making those changes. So I wouldn't focus on tinkering too much. Make your little changes, here and there, but then let it set. Make sure that you give them time to grow. It's like, if you're growing carrots, you can't constantly pull them out of the ground to check on them. Otherwise, you are just going to kill the carrot.
Would you recommend copying the tags from successful listings? Saw a video promoting this whose products are like yours. Why or why not? Thank you.
I mean, you can, but that's still not how Etsy's algorithm works. That is assuming that keywords are the only thing that influence your rank, which is not true. So I could go to the bestseller on Etsy, whatever the #1 selling product is. I could steal their photos. I could steal their titles. I could steal their tags. I could steal their descriptions. I could steal everything from their shop and make a copycat shop. And that listing still would not rank beside theirs because they have listing quality scores. The thing is, this shop, we don't know how this shop got successful. They could have been around a lot longer than you. They could have a big social media following that has resulted in a lot of sales, thus helping their listing quality scores. So we don't actually know. Just because they have a lot of sales, it does not mean that their SEO is good. This tells me that the person who gave you that advice does not understand how Etsy's algorithm works, and I would not consider them a reliable source because their assumption is that relevancy, which is SEO, your keywords, are the only factor that's influencing how you are displayed in search. Now, what you can do instead is rather than copy all of your competitors' tags and titles, go in and analyze their tags and titles. Enter them into the listing audit tool. You can actually grab their listing ID and paste it into the listing audit tool on ERank.com. Look at some of the tags that they're using and search for them in the keyword tool on ERank. See what the search volumes look like. See if they're actually using good keywords, and then decide for yourself which of their keywords are good, which of their keywords aren't good. Because it doesn't matter if a top seller's SEO is good. And I know that that sounds really crazy, but if you had a listing that was not optimized well, and you had the bare minimum for your titles and tags, but you had a huge social media following who consistently came back and bought that listing over and over again, as long as Etsy knows what that item is, they don't care if your SEO is good or bad. They know that listing is selling, and they're more likely to recommend that listing in search as long as they know who or what it is, if it matches a query. So with that being said, you could find a listing that is just titled, red cat mug. And it could be ranking super high in search. It could have a ton of sales. And you wonder to yourself, well, that's hardly any keywords at all. They haven't even filled out all their tags. All they have is red cat mug. But if Etsy knows that they are selling the #1 best-selling red cat mug on Etsy, Etsy doesn't care if their keywords are all filled out. Etsy is going to continue recommending this listing to more people. Pam and I often talk about the Jason Momoa of Etsy. If you're a new actor and you go in to get a movie role, you better be dressed nice. You better have, a nice resume when you go in. You better be super impressive. You've got to go in there and apply for that acting role with your very best game face on. Jason Momoa walks in for that same role. He doesn't need anything. He could be in a trash bag because he already has a good reputation in acting. He'll get that job immediately.
Hashtag Momoa trash bag.
You, on the other hand, have to try a lot harder, right? SEO is the same way. Those listings that are performing well are the Jason Momoas. They already have a good standing with Etsy. They might have been selling for longer. They might have had way more sales than you. Etsy's more likely to rank them higher in search. You're Greg, unfortunately, and Greg has to try a little bit harder. Greg has to come prepared. Greg has to do his SEO. Do you guys like my metaphors? Do they help? I feel like I'm the only person on YouTube who does these stupid metaphors, and I hope they help and I'm not just rambling.
Someone said, can Bubbers get his own tiny mic so we can catch the purring sometimes? I would put one back there so you could hear his purring when he first gets up there. However, when he first jumps up there, it's going to sound like a car running through the front of your house. So we can't do that. Maybe we can. Will you perch?
I don't know
if they can hear that or not. Let me know if you could hear his purring.
All right.
All right. Does selling in person affect Etsy's stats / ranks?
We actually are not sure. I don't think, unless Pam, are you here? Have we gotten a confirmation from Etsy yet on that? We have not gotten any official confirmation on Etsy. It does deduct from your quantity as long as you're using your little Etsy swiper thing. For in-person events, but I don't know if it positively affects your listing quality score, thus affecting your rank. So unless Pam has gotten an answer on that or seen anything, I personally haven't seen anything official from Etsy. So I'm not sure.
How do you find your audience when you're kind of an introvert online and IRL? Like I literally don't leave the house.
Neither do we.
She's more of an introvert than I am.
Yeah. You're not finding your audience by going looking through their windows.
You might not.
You don't need to go to the club on Friday night and dance with them. You don't need to take them out to dinner.
Unless you're Johnny. You hear Johnny?
You can spy on them. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you've made any sales at all, go into their little Etsy profiles and look at other things that they've purchased. Do research into some of your competitors or find somebody on Instagram who is selling something similar to you and start going through the people who have commented on those posts and then start digging through their profiles. Can you identify an average age? Can you identify an average style? Can you identify an average gender? Can you identify an average, maybe income level? Are they all in apartments or are they all in mansions? These are little itty bitty things that we can identify and start jotting down in order to build a wider net. When you notice things that are consistent across multiple customers or multiple people who are interacting with one of these pages, that's a good indication that maybe that's something that you should take note of. So introvert here, I know it doesn't seem that way because I'm on camera right now, but
there's no one else here.
There's no one here. But it is a good way to quietly begin assessing who is actually interested in the type of thing that you're selling. And then, over time, as you start making sales, you're able to narrow things down even more and change things and make them shape who your real customers are. But sometimes looking at your competitors starting out is the best way to start.
Maybe I'll just start making Bubbers dance over here while you're talking for the ADHD people who need something to focus on while you're speaking.
Here's the problem. I'm one of the ADHD people and you're distracting me.
Nope. All right. Next question's highlighted. I'm going to put him in his tower.
Okay. Hi, is it too early to list Halloween items? I know I should get them up by the end of July. Not sure if listing it now would hurt or help. It's not going to hurt, and Hobby Lobby already has their fall stuff up. So that's perfectly fine if you want to get them up now. I would say that June would be the best time to go ahead and launch. You can launch them now if you want. It's not going to hurt anything. You also have to consider that Halloween is a pretty universal holiday for the goth kids. So goth kids are just waiting. Yes. We're waiting. We're waiting for that Halloween stuff to come out. We don't care if summer hasn't started yet. We want that Halloween stuff. So get it listed whenever. You could start a whole ad campaign on social media. Halloween starts now. It's never too early for Halloween. And that could be like your whole thing and get everybody excited about it. I would say that next month is fine to start really, really pushing though.
I have trouble identifying low-hanging fruit and high-hanging fruit keywords. Should I look at last month's searches?
Well,
you can only look at last month's searches anyway.
Well, I mean, you can look at the trend graph. So low-hanging fruits are going to be keywords that don't have as many searches, but they don't have as much competition, which, I talk about those a little bit in the SEO toolbox. Higher hanging fruits are going to be the ones where those competition levels are in the red. Using a good balance of those is great. But if you didn't watch last week's Friday Bean, you'll notice how little while watching that I actually pay to competition. Because the thing is, over time, as you build up listing quality scores, you're going to be able to compete with some of those big dogs. It takes time, but that's why I recommend having that balance of low-hanging fruits and high-hanging fruit keywords that are easier to rank for. Their search volumes are lower, but their competition is lower, versus high-hanging fruit keywords that have great searches, but their competition is through the roof. High-hanging fruit keywords to me are keywords that you're probably not going to rank for right away, but you want to work your way up to them by being consistent and leaving them in your listings. You're probably not going to rank for them right away, but if you leave them in there for a long time and you're willing to wait it out for the long game, those are the keywords that you can rank for over time through sales and consistency.
Is it possible to use a POD production partner to sell public domain photos? I've read Etsy's policies and it seems it's against the rules, but I'm not sure how it works. Many people are doing it.
That one I am not sure on. For one, you need to check with each individual POD company,
because they're going to have their own set of rules on that kind of stuff too.
For two, you need to decide or figure out where you're sourcing your public domain photos.
And ensure that they are absolutely, positively public domain.
Yeah, because I know that, for example, there's a difference between stock photos and public domain photos. And stock photos are not the same. Really, it's not a question that I think I can answer. You might be better off reaching out to a lawyer on justanswer.com, because you can just pay a couple dollars and ask a lawyer one question, and then you have a solid answer. And it's a really cheap alternative to actually hiring a lawyer. So
you come over here and we'll take you upstairs. My default language is German. It's impossible to add alt text or FAQ. Should I change my default language to English, or are there disadvantages for the German search afterwards? Etsy's translation's pretty good.
Etsy tells us that we should select, the language that we speak. So I'm not quite sure why it's impossible to add alt text or FAQs. I didn't realize that.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I didn't.
Anybody else here in Germany or speak German that uses the German version of Etsy that can verify that or know a workaround?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. All I can say is that Etsy tells us to select the correct language and country, and then they do our translations for us. So I'm not entirely sure.
How does ERank collect Etsy data for keyword research? ERank does not collect Etsy data. We purchase data.
Yeah. So ERank and every SEO tool in the world,
most of them,
well, yes. every Etsy SEO tool purchases data third party. It is the only way to obtain that data for most ERank tools. There are ERank tools that come from Etsy's public API, but any tools related to search volume, we purchase that data third party from a very reliable source. That's one thing that I absolutely love about Anthony Wolf when it comes to obtaining data.
Owner of ERank.
Yeah, the CEO of ERank. He only works with companies who obtain data legally and ethically. Okay, so that's the first thing. But the second thing to note is that these data sets aren't a few thousand people. These data sets are millions and millions of panelists. So these help us to get the largest possible average amount of searches for different keywords that are as accurate as they can possibly be. Now, every once in a while, there will be a gap in the data, and we'll tell you that we don't have data for a term. And a lot of times it's, more obscure terms we won't have data for, because out of the millions and millions of people within the data set that we have, nobody searched for that thing. And we're not going to lie or try to estimate it.
No, we don't do any estimations on our. Well, I mean, there's rounding involved, but no estimations.
But basically, that data, what I love about ERank's data in particular is that we buy a lot more of it than a lot of our other competitors, which means that the more data you have, the more accurate it gets, right? Data is not inaccurate. It only gets more accurate the more it is quantified. So, and Etsy is familiar with us. We've sat in meetings with Etsy over at ERank. We are a recommended Etsy integration, and we're one of the few SEO tools that's recommended by Etsy. If you go into your integration section on your, your seller dashboard on the left-hand panel, and you click on integrations, ERank is one of the ones that pops up. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. We do get that question a lot, but any tool that claims that they get search volume from Etsy, they're lying. And I'm completely 100% confident in saying they're lying, because that is not data that anybody has access to. However, we do communicate with Etsy to ensure that all of our tools kind of pass their sniff test, to make sure that they're happy with everything that we create and that we're not doing anything that would make them upset. So, yeah. All right. Sorry, I figured you'd want to, you act like you're enjoying reading questions.
Nah, my ADHD's on bad today.
That's okay.
I'm on another planet. On your Etsy dashboard, what's the difference between a view and a visit?
Okay, so a view is when somebody views a listing, right? So they have viewed your listing, they're on your listing page. A visit is when they go to your store. So you could have one visit, but you could end up having 5 views, right? Because they could go to your store and look at 5 different listings. That's why typically your visits are always going to be a little lower than your views. Occasionally your views will be higher when, maybe most of the people who found your listings found them in search and then didn't visit your store. But that's basically the difference between the two.
Can I get any good info from ERank data that will apply at all to my Amazon listings?
Well, I mean, yeah, we technically, if you go into the Keyword Explorer on ERank, we do have some keyword data for other marketplaces that you can dive into. But we've also noticed that, a lot of the things, especially in Amazon Handmade, that are trending on Etsy can do well on Amazon as well, just because they're general search trends. We're definitely curious to hear if ERank helps when you're doing, Amazon optimization. We're not as familiar with how Amazon's algorithm works, and we definitely don't advertise ourselves as being a tool for Amazon. But I don't see why you couldn't try, because ultimately it is data based on shopper interest.
Someone said the goal is to set Etsy ads to the max. Is that right? Nope.
No.
Sounds stupid. You should quit listening to that person. We ain't even gonna touch on it. That's just stupid advice.
That's insane. That is absolute insanity.
That sounds like a troll, if I'm completely honest.
That sounds like somebody who is trying to lead you down a path of terrible spending.
The problem with teaching people how to do things on the internet is you don't have to have any qualifications or know-how or experience. You can just get on with a cell phone and record yourself saying something, and people are going to believe it. So that to me sounds like someone who has no idea what they're talking about. They don't even try. They're literally not. That is bottom of the barrel. I'm not even going to try to look up actual advice information. They think, oh yeah,
spend as much money as possible.
They give you the option to just buy ads. Just put all your money into ads, and you might get a little boost. You might make a couple of dollars, but you're probably not going to make all that money back.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
Especially in a new shop.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. That is so risky. That's gambling. That's the same as taking $1,000 and going and buying a bunch of lottery tickets.
What you do is you contact your bank, see what your maximum loan amount is. You loan out the maximum and you put it into your ads. And then you're going to make that back in like the next week. You can pay off your loan. You can get an even bigger loan. No, that's stupid. That's terrible advice.
Please don't do that.
That was sarcasm, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Can you chat about the ERank listing helper tool?
I mean, I just did a whole video on it this week.
Yeah. Pretty short, too.
Yeah. Can you, I mean, I kind of need to know what you guys want to know because we demonstrated it during last week's episode of the Friday Bean. And I also have a 5-minute video that I posted on it on Tuesday that shows you exactly how to use it and how to get beta tests for it. If I get like, if you guys want to see another demonstration of the listing helper tool, feel free to put a bunch of hearts in the comments right now. That way I know that.
Does he want us to? That's not still on beta.
Yeah, we can still show it. We showed it last week. They're up in the medicine cabinet, or not the medicine cabinet, in the linen closet. But if you guys want that, I will, but I already have a bunch of content on it and I explain exactly what it is in a very concise video. So maybe watch that because I don't want to waste everybody's time, you know, if they've already seen it. Okay. Let's see. Hi, I wanted to know what I can and can't do with Etsy messages. Can I message previous buyers to join an email list or give them a coupon or do a survey? How do you nurture customers and audience? Thanks. Okay. You cannot message your Etsy customers when it is not related to a transaction. You may only send transactional messages. Messaging past customers to have them do a survey or do a coupon, you can't do that. That is against Etsy's policies. What I recommend is down below in the video description. It's included both in the Etsy SEO toolbox, but there's also a link just to get this freebie by itself. My 5-star customer service swipe files are a set of transactional messages that follow Etsy's rules. And Etsy actually started recommending doing this exact same thing after they noticed that a bunch of people were using my swipe files. They decided to start recommending something similar. Basically,
we felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, we did feel good about it. I wish they would have shouted me out.
Like, hey, here's this idea this YouTuber had. Let's steal it.
Yeah. SSAR, sale, ship, arrive, review. You can message them after their sale to say, hey, thank you so much for your purchase. If you would like to save 20% off on your next purchase, feel free to join my email list and I'll send you an automatic discount code. You can do that. Ship. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that your order shipped. It is on the way. If you absolutely love it when it arrives, you know, I hope you'll leave a review. You can do that. Arrive. You can message them to say, hey, I noticed that your order arrived. I'm so excited that, you know, that it's made it safely to you. Can you, maybe just confirm that it arrived safely and that there were no issues? And then if they leave a review, you can say, thanks for your review, or you can just respond publicly to their review if you want to do that. But I have copy and paste messages down below the 5-star customer service strategy. If you want to use my versions or use it kind of as like a base, so you can use it, like a template to write your own. Not only is that going to help you get more reviews and help you with customer service and to grow your email list, it's also going to help you rank higher in search, because one of the best things that you can do for your listing quality score is show Etsy that people not only purchased that listing, but that they loved their purchase. And Etsy's more likely to rank those listings higher in search. So it's actually, I include it in the Etsy SEO toolbox because it's a great strategy for search engine optimization.
Somebody said, wait, we can't save their email for our lists?
No.
Nope, that's a privacy crime.
Yeah, that's in direct violation with both GDPR for our EU residents and in direct violation of the CAN Spam Act. You cannot.
And there's like 5 or 6 US states that have adopted privacy laws that aren't really being enforced, but that's also a violation of most of those too.
They must consent to join your list.
It's no different than getting spam calls from random ad agencies that bought your phone number. You don't like that, right? It's the same thing.
Right.
You're doing the same thing to those people.
But it is email privacy laws. You cannot add anybody to your email list without them opting in to do so.
I wanted to know what I can't do with Etsy messages.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Okay, that's what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Prepaid ads on Etsy, from what I've seen from the reports, it seems that no sales are linked to the ad budget. What are your thoughts or insight? We kind of already talked all about ads. So
wait, no sales are linked to the ad budget. I'm not quite sure.
That doesn't make any sense, because if somebody buys a product based on an ad that they've seen, then that sale is linked to the ad budget, right? Well, I think maybe they're referring to the money being like, you don't have money taken out of your ad budget if somebody buys it. That's true, because that's just based on how many people see the ad.
Hey, Nick, we'll keep an eye on the bottom of the chat. Feel free
clarify for me.
Yeah, feel free to clarify, and we'll bump up your priority level.
If you mean specifically decreasing the budget based on whether somebody buys it, then yes, I don't believe that that's linked. Pretty sure the ad budget is only spent when people see or click on your listings. I'm a traditional artist transitioning to digital. I love working in a lot of different styles, subjects, etc. How can I niche down without limiting my creativity? Do I really have to niche down?
You don't have to niche down, but I would stick, if you have a consistent style, even if you are transitioning from traditional to digital, but you have a clear style. For example, if I had, if someone had given Thomas Kincaid a way to create digital art, he would probably still be creating pretty little cottages with,
Yeah.
It's all about your style because you are the artist. So what is your unique style? That is your niche. Do you have to niche? No. Are the most successful shops on Etsy, do they have niches? Yes. Are the most successful artists in the world, do they have niches? Yes. So I think it really just depends on what your unique style is.
Niching down is niching down. It's a funnel, right? Like you start at the top and you work your way down. You can have like, let's say, maximalism and minimalism, and then maybe below minimalism there's a style of boho that's in here, and then we get down a little bit further and we're talking like cottagecore, and then we get down further to that and we're like, oh, this is cottagecore but it's like plants. Like niching down is a hill that you go down. You don't have to go all the way down the hill to the bottom of the barrel of the niche. You can be up here. It just depends on what you're selling. What do you think about the rise of AI art as digital products on Etsy and the coaches on YouTube recommending this for quick sales?
I mean, do you want to follow get rich quick bros who aren't helping you to build a brand? They're just teaching you how to make a bunch of quick money. Or are you trying to build a sustainable business? Because, we're not really the coaches for, and if you want to follow coaches like that, that's fine.
Yeah, there's a ton of them, and you can make quite a bit of money doing it, but it just depends on what you're doing.
But those are fleeting sales. AI, that's not...
To an extent. I don't wholeheartedly agree with that, because I have mixed feelings on the AI stuff. I do not like AI tools that steal other people's art. However, when you start talking about programs that use algorithms where you have to adjust 1,000 different variables to make it output an image that is completely and entirely unique, that can create works of art that maybe you're not mentally capable of creating. Maybe you want to do abstract art, and your way of obtaining that abstract art is by using math and algorithms to output an image that does that is not reliant on other people's imagery, or at least not to an extent that it's copying that imagery. I think that that's completely fine, but that's not how most AI art tools work now. And regardless of who recommends what, AI is not going anywhere for a while, no matter what any artist thinks or wants. Unfortunately, it's going to stick around for a while because regulating it is next to impossible.
Beverly, don't be rude to my subscribers, please. Or just go, because we don't do that here. Don't call my people stupid. Seriously, go find somewhere else to hang out. That's not cool here. All right. Sorry, Mama Bear. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely not. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah, for real. You don't have to be here. Go find somewhere else to hang.
I consistently get better sales when I'm not running ads than when I do. If I advertise my bestsellers, sales decrease. You are not the only person. I've heard this quite a bit. I've also heard the polar opposite. I've heard people say that they make absolutely no sales unless they run ads. Again, this is one of those things that probably depends on the niche, the time of year, where you're at, personalization, everything else that goes into the algorithm. That's why I say when it comes to running ads, I can't really say whether or not ads work for you. It's kind of a test it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, turn it off. That's really all we can say when it comes to ads.
Hey, Nick went ahead and resubmitted his question.
I guess the best way to say it is the ad... Extend this out.
Sorry, your question was getting...
I guess the best way to say this is the ad report is bringing in views to my shop, but no direct sales CTR.
Okay, well you're getting views, but people aren't buying. So that tells me that they're seeing your listing and your ads are doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? But that doesn't guarantee that once they get there, they're going to buy. There's still a human element. How you've been a shopper before, I assume. You've clicked on something, thought it looked cool, but then decided not to buy it. If I were you, might try to determine where the issue is and where the snag is. If you're getting a lot of views, but not actually converting, you might want to look into things like your pricing, or maybe your shipping price is throwing off your buyers. There's a lot of different things that could be actually causing the barrier that is preventing them from wanting to follow through with that purchase. Are they confused when they get there? Do they think they know what they're getting, but then they look at it and they're like, I actually don't know what this listing is, or I don't know what's included. So I would do a deep dive into your listings a little bit more and just try to identify specifically what is causing them to not follow through with their purchases.
What tea is that, Mark? From a company called Aliens, Ayylliens, and it says, "What a wonderful day!
What a wonderful day!
What a wonderful day!" Don't go there with your kids in the room. They have a lot of not safe for work products.
Aliens doesn't.
Oh no, I'm thinking of
Teen Hearts.
Teen Hearts, yeah.
Aliens doesn't.
I sell planners and such for authors and writers. So far, I only have digital products. I'm getting a handful of views, but no sales. Would you recommend me diversifying my products with POD?
Sure. It just depends on how long you've been selling and are you advertising? I would say that jumping in, and I know that it's hard with digital products, but jumping in on the like book talk trend and the Bookstagram trend and helping authors. I mean, I'm an author. I'm in the author community. I can see your products potentially being very popular, but it's all about reaching those people. And as an author, I wouldn't think to look on Etsy for what you're offering. Like my thought I don't think that, that's something I'll shop for on Etsy. It's almost like I don't know that type of thing exists. But where authors are hanging out right now is on places like TikTok and Instagram. So I would try to do some advertising and start following some small, indie authors and see if you can encourage sales by maybe educating. You could sit down and show how to fill out some of your products, or maybe give some tips for authors. I think that there's a lot of things that you could do. Organization tips for authors, build up your audience and see if you can funnel some of that traffic. But yeah, you could do some POD as well.
Sandra had said Adobe's Firefly in beta uses only its licensed imagery for training its AI. Now, here's where my controversial thought goes in. I don't particularly care what an AI tool uses for training, because a good AI tool doesn't just take snippets from images and stick them in and try to recreate. What AI training should do is be able to take any images on the internet and determine how certain lines meet what, how colors meet what, how things fade into other things, and then be able to take those as techniques, not as designs, and apply those to a prompt given to it. So I can take whatever I want and have it turn into something else. As long as it's not a direct recreation, there's no such thing as an original thought. Right. So using an algorithm to build something is fine, as long as it's not, say, like, oh, I'm going to take Starla's face and pop it on a pizza. Right.
Hey, I do that.
You do that.
I did that.
Right. But if it puts a face on a pizza using techniques that it learned from that picture, that's fine. That is an original piece of art. That's like saying that somebody's trippy mushroom picture isn't original because somebody else already drew a trippy mushroom picture. That's not right. Right. We would disagree with that for the most part. And it's the same thing with AI. I started my store about a month ago, but I realized I need to be more focused on my main niche. Should I start a new shop or just pivot my current listings?
Pivot your current listings. You don't need to start a new shop. I would start working on what you've already built. Not only that, Etsy's been having, I would be a bad person to not acknowledge how many people have reached out to me over the past few weeks saying that they have tried to start accounts and have been, most new accounts get suspended right away. And then you just message Etsy and say, hey, my shop got suspended. Can you reopen me? And they reopen you. But there are so many new shops that have come to me and said, when I tried to get my shop reopened, I hadn't even filled anything out yet. And I got permanently suspended, and I hadn't even done anything yet. I would recommend working with what you have, if only to avoid whatever is going on with Etsy glitching out, basically keeping people from joining Etsy right now. I don't know what's going on. I unfortunately would really need to dissect what these sellers have done, like step by step, in order to verify that there's actually an issue. You know, because a lot of them say, well, I didn't do anything wrong. In reality, like they put up a bunch of Mickey Mouse listings, you know, there are people who say I didn't do anything wrong, but it's because they didn't know that they did. And the only way that we'll be able to confirm that this is going on is if Mark and I open another Etsy account, but then that puts our existing Etsy accounts at risk.
And also Amber's, because
Yeah.
we log into hers here as well.
Yeah.
I had a couple. Sandra had said my answer would be too long here, but it doesn't do that. That's super difficult for a task like that. Right now, it's more or less just taking static and working backwards. I agree with you, but the companies that are attempting to create ethical AI are the ones that are trying to make it not work that way. But as of right now, that's the only process that they have as far as a learning tool goes. However, they are trying their best to have it output as ethically as possible. Because realistically, even working backwards from an image, you're still just taking the original basic, whatever, how many panel of images that it uses and using them as a concept. And that's not really any different. I mean, it is different at a base level. This is something that can get into like an hour and a half long conversation. We won't do that here. But that's what a lot of the companies that want to create ethical AI art tools want to do, but they're just not there yet.
Moon dice.
Yeah, I've spent a ton of money on advertising on Etsy and Google, getting little in sales in return. I'm convinced my product is the problem, but how am I to know exactly?
Well, I can tell you that I know what you make, and your products aren't the problem because I see tons of sellers that are successful with them. Stop spending money. Stop spending money. Stop spending money. Start a TikTok. Your products would do fantastic on TikTok. They would do fantastic with Instagram Reels. And if you're trying those things already and you're not seeing results from them, try a different strategy for your TikToks and Instagram Reels. Your products are awesome, and I know that there's demand for them. So get on TikTok and Instagram because I guarantee that's where your competitors are.
My customers love stacking coupon code with a sale. I had great advice from Starla, but now Etsy on sales out of business. Are there other Etsy businesses that help run a coupon plus a sale?
No,
Excuse me.
we talked about trying to figure out how they did what they did over at ERank to potentially create something similar, but I don't know if it's possible, and if it is possible, it probably won't be possible in time for Black Friday this year, and I'm very, very bummed out about it. So I will keep you posted on that, but as of right now, Etsy on sale was the only way to do stackable coupons, and I'm not sure where we're gonna go with the double dip strategy this year. I'm really upset about it.
If I post a listing with a quantity of one and it sells out, can I refresh that listing with photos of a different color variation of the same product? Trying to think of bestseller status.
No, Etsy does not like it when you do that. And I always use this example of one time I favorited a cute ankle bracelet. And then I had my daughter sitting on my lap and I was going through my favorites. And I didn't realize that the seller also sold body jewelry and had done that exact thing where they swapped out the ankle bracelet for nipple rings. And I scrolled past nipple rings with my very young daughter sitting on my lap.
No, do that.
Don't do that because everybody who's favorited your product is going to have a different product in their favorites. And Etsy tells us not to do that. So I wouldn't do that unless the product is like almost the same thing.
All right, let's try to speed up a little bit. We're going to start losing our questions.
Okay.
Is it okay to have common listing template for each listing? I'm currently trying to streamline as my small shop grows. Yeah, that's fine as long as your listings are similar enough that you're able to not have to do a hour and a half's worth of work to build up your next listing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can
I don't see any problem with it.
Start with, make one great listing and then hit the copy button and use that as your template and, put in different photos, change up your keywords a little bit, change up your descriptions a little bit and do what you need to do to make it, unique. But if you can create a great template for your listings and you sell kind of similar things, yeah, absolutely.
Johnny said Etsy on sale was just a bulk editor on a schedule. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It would go in and it would add the little like sale banner. It did a lot of like minor work that would take you hours. Yeah, little things. But it's a lot of little things, and if you don't want to spend, if you got 100+ listings, it'd take you hours. What is your opinion on mock-up photos? All looking the same. If you're doing POD examples, should the same mock-up be used for t-shirts?
I hate it. And the more that we start to rely on mock-ups that all look identical, the more that Etsy pages are all going to look the same, and buyers are going to be desensitized to those same mock-ups.
Yep.
I
Be
recommend,
creative.
yeah, we talked about this not last Friday, but the Friday before. We had Christina Nicole, a product photography coach, on the channel, and we were talking about mock-ups with her. And one of the things that she talked about was how, eventually people are going to be desensitized to using the identical mock-ups. I recommend ordering samples, trying to take some photos of your own products. I always use Hannah from Distant Planet, one of my students, as an example. Hannah does print on demand, but she buys samples of every single thing that she sells and takes her own photos of her wearing her products, and her photos are phenomenal. Every once in a while, she'll sprinkle in a mock-up, but most of the time she is wearing her products. And I know that gets expensive and not everybody can do that, but try to use mockups that are unique, or try to, when you use your POD company, get your PNG of your shirt, for example, with a transparent background, and use Canva to add in your own unique backgrounds, just so you can try to create something that doesn't look like what everybody else has.
Is it just me that would love an hour and a half on Mark with AI? Thing is, I'm not a professional on AI. I'm just reiterating what I've heard from professionals within the industry.
Yeah.
Just like what you guys are doing here, we consider ourselves to be relatively professional in the world of Etsy. I'm just reiterating my opinion on the multiple sources that I've heard and read things from. I'm nowhere near smart enough to tell you how AI really works. Should you add all the keywords you have in the title to your description, or could you write what you want and just add a few here and there? Can I tell a story about my listing in the description?
Yeah, you should add, you only need to add a few from your title. The descriptions, in the terms of like the algorithmic totem pole of importance,
Way down here for now.
Yeah, title, most important. Tags, second most important. Attributes, third most important. Description is dead last. Descriptions aren't that important. We've run multiple tests over at ERank. They do not hardly hold any weight at all. Make sure that your superstar keywords are in your description, whatever it is you want to be known for, and it shouldn't be that hard to put them in there. If you're selling a cat mug, say, this cat mug is a great gift for anyone who loves cats. And then you've got your superstar keyword in there.
I would keep an eye out, though, because if you looked at Etsy's report that they just put out, contextualization of listings is definitely something that they're considering using AI tools. So if you're watching this in like 2026, this is not valid advice anymore, because they now have AI probably reading your descriptions and looking at your pictures, because that's in their plans. But that's a discussion for another day.
Miranda finished Handmade Outfit Academy today.
Yeah, I saw your post. I heart reacted it. Just stopping in to let you know you give me the confidence to open a shop. I'm spending this weekend photographing and can't wait to start. And we can't wait to see what you do.
Awesome. Congrats, April.
What about refreshing listings? How often is this an old trick? Has been an old trick for about 10 years now.
Over that. Over 10 years. Yeah, that is, for one, Etsy doesn't like it. For two, if you're constantly paying the 20 cents to renew your listings every day, basically what you're telling Etsy is, despite the fact that I am trying to ride the new listing boost, my listing still isn't selling, which means that Etsy is going to push that listing farther and farther down because they realize that nobody wants it. You are telling Etsy that nobody wants what I'm selling. Don't do that. That is so outdated.
Tony said, I used to design machine learning models for reading characters and identifying scanned documents. That's sexy.
Cool.
Why is it that people that get into tech that hard either go further into tech or selling adult products? Can you answer that for me, Johnny?
We are saying that because Johnny sells
adult products. Yeah. What about changing store names? What about it?
You can change your store name.
Change your store name.
It doesn't have any impact on you, I don't think. Etsy's never said anything about it.
What would you recommend as the focus for an Etsy ad campaign? Currently optimized short-term sale, but didn't know if you preferred a category.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking there.
Bestsellers. That's focus on your bestsellers.
Advertise your bestsellers. That's always going to be my advice, and it sounds so simple because it is. Advertise your bestsellers.
Say you have 4 products of one type in your store. Should your listing verbiage be the same on all of them?
They're one type, but I'm sure that they're not identical. I'm sure that there's something that would warrant them being listed separately, which means that you would not need identical keywords. You're missing opportunities by just using the exact same tags and titles. You can have some of the same. If you only sell mugs, make sure that you've got mugs in all of those. You're not going to compete with yourself. That's a myth that people like to say that isn't possible. But yeah, absolutely. You could use some of the same keywords. Just make sure that you're also including whatever makes those products unique.
Oh, she said, sorry, my product got split up. What about changing the store name of a new store not established yet? Oh, yeah, then it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. Johnny said, I'm pretty sure there's a meme of the overlap between computer science and furry stuff. Is it like the natural evolution of everything returning to crab? Can you address the myth that Etsy rotates shops or caps sales in a shop? I'm really tired of hearing that. We actually get that question pretty frequently.
Here's the thing, Debbie. We talked about this like 2 weeks ago when last week when Anthony was here. And Etsy technically, what they're referring to when they say they cap sales,
it's a misunderstanding.
It does happen. It's where Etsy removes your shop from search due to sales that haven't shipped yet.
Or, well, yeah, it's usually an abundance of sales. Somebody gets an abundance of sales they haven't shipped, or a lack of shipping items that should have already been shipped.
Yeah, but sometimes it's listings or it's products that haven't hit their ship by date.
But it's an algorithmic thing, not a person looking at it. So sometimes it just goofs. It doesn't happen, at least we think it doesn't happen as often as people think it does.
Yeah. But
we don't know what they base that data off of.
But it definitely does happen. I think it's stupid if the list or if the product isn't set to ship yet.
Hi, I sell on Etsy and Amazon. I have some new products to launch. Should I put some on Etsy and some on Amazon or all on both? Will I be penalized for selling the same product? But the platforms aren't connected.
No.
So that doesn't really matter. The only thing that I would say is make sure that you have a way to keep up with inventory, or you're splitting inventory between the two. That way you're not overselling a product that you either don't have or can't create.
Yeah, there's no problem with listing them in both places though.
Don't put any links to like the Amazon store on Etsy or vice versa, because then you're breaking their terms of service. First time catching your live, just found your channel this week and I'm loving the videos while I work on my Etsy orders.
Awesome.
Glad you like it.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
To charge shipping or not to charge shipping, what's the difference in terms of the algorithm?
Etsy tells us that free shipping, that listings that ship free get prioritized on mobile in search. Experiment with it. There's no such thing as free shipping. Obviously, it's shipping included. You would be putting the price of the shipping into your listings, and it's going to be different depending on your target audience and what you sell and what your competitors are doing. So you can experiment with it. In terms of the algorithm, you're really only ranking higher in search on mobile, though.
How can we get more reviews? Any ideas? Swipe files, get them below the fold here.
Free down there.
Totally free.
So when you sign up for the free Etsy SE Oodles toolbox, which just so many people don't want to sign up for it. There's no weird sales pitches or anything in there. I promise. It's a thing. It includes a bunch of SEO tutorials, but it also includes my 5-star customer service swipe files. I had somebody a few minutes ago ask what swipe files are. They are just copy and paste text documents that you paste into your Etsy messages. Every time you make a sale, you basically send one of these messages to your customers. The directions are included with them, but they follow Etsy's terms of service, and they can help you to get more reviews, which obviously, like I said previously, more good reviews helps to build your listing quality score, which can help you to rank higher in search. So good reviews aren't just good for, building credibility. They can also help your rank.
If ERank gives a brand new listing a D, should you continue to work on it or wait?
Here's the thing. The listing audit is not telling you if your SEO is good. It's not connected to like our keyword tool telling you that there are searches for those terms. It is basically just telling you how well you followed Etsy's best practices. And some of the very best performing listings on Etsy have bad grades. I have had many listings that are bestsellers that have had bad grades. So it's up to you. If you would like to, tweak it, it might be a good indicator if you've just published that listing and you haven't, seen any results from it. Might be a good indicator that you didn't optimize it good to begin with. The listing audit is great when you are first listing products, but just make sure that you're not using it as gospel. We actually tried to take grades away a couple years ago and people got really upset, but we just want to make sure that it is known that your grades are not a measure of how successful your listing is going to be.
I like to say to use it as a baseline. Look at why you're getting that grade. Ignore the SEO stuff. But if there's misspellings or things that you're not filling out, things that you're not doing, things that are missing, things you have too many of, Anything that it gives you like that, make sure you're fixing those. But then the SEO part of it, honestly, it needs to be redone. There's just not any good way to redo it that doesn't piss people off. What can you do to revive an older listing?
There's a lot of things you can do. Freshen up your photos, reassess the keywords that you're using, reevaluate your pricing. I recommend on my channel, I actually have a video called How to Make Your Etsy Listing Sell. I posted it in January. I recommend watching that video because I have a full checklist in the exact order that I recommend, doing all the steps in order to revive a listing that isn't selling.
How do you get someone on Etsy on the phone? Yes.
You don't anymore.
You don't.
You have to go through the contact tab in the left side of your dashboard and click through a million menus until you can either request a phone call, which sometimes that's available, sometimes it's not, or you email them.
You got to consider how many people sell on Etsy and how many people buy from Etsy. It's just not possible. What happened to Brad Pitt? That was his analogy. Oh, the age range on our videos dropped from primarily 45 to 65 to 25 to 45. So we needed somebody that was more recently relevant.
Well, I started using Jason Momoa as our example because Pam did.
Yeah. Well, he's a more recently famous buff dude.
Man, we're all the way back at You Are Greg. Wow.
I told you we had to speed it up. This is what happens on open days.
While you are getting our next question, I just want to give you guys a reminder that Handmade Alpha Academy will be opening on June 14th. That is my 9-module Etsy training program that's going to teach you A to Z how to build, market, and grow your Etsy shop step by step. That does not mean that you have to be new, and it does not mean that you have to be experienced. We work with sellers of all different niches, all different experience levels. If you are not making the sales that you want on Etsy and you want to really build a sustainable brand, I highly recommend checking it out. I actually just created a brand new video on the on our waiting list page. If you want to check that out and listen to some student testimonials, you can go to joinhaa.com. Sign up for the wait list, and I'll send you an email right when it opens. And that is really going to be the best source of step-by-step advice because we've got 1,000 students in there. We have tons of 6-figure sellers. We've got a ton of bonuses. We even have the Product Photography Essentials Workshop by Christina Nicole that's included with that. You get access to our annual Alpha Holiday Bootcamp that you would normally have to pay for. You get free access to that every year. And you get to email me if you have questions. So join HAA.com if you want to learn more about the program.
Hi, what to do when someone makes a fake copyright strike on your listings? I had my listings deactivated by a competitor just because my listings were doing better. I counterclaim, but this is so unjust. I mean, you already did the counterclaim. Make sure you're contacting Etsy. If it does not get resolved, that's when you have to start looking at hiring a legal expert. You might have to hire an attorney.
Yeah, unfortunately, taking the legal route if Etsy doesn't help you is really the only thing you can do. And yeah. I know that sucks.
And it sucks because you're going to probably be fighting both that seller and Etsy with that kind of thing. However, at some point, somebody's going to have to stand up to Etsy if they get their listings taken down to make them stop. Going to a club to sell stuff, boots and pants and buy my stuff. I'm just curious what happened or sold well on Etsy during the last recession. Tired of YouTubers who talk about pandemic sales. What happens on Etsy in a down market? That is literally impossible to predict because it depends on why there's a down market. And I'm assuming that people are starting to think about this because we're kind of reaching a debt ceiling right now and we don't really know what the future is going to hold, and we could hit a recession soon. Short answer is we have no idea. It could go to people are buying nothing on the internet, to people are buying a lot more things on the internet because that's the cheaper option than buying it from corporations that are scalping us, which is what happened during COVID. We thought COVID was going to be, everybody's going to be holding their money back and spending it all on toilet paper. And that's exactly the opposite of what happened. We had our best HAA launch in the middle of COVID.
Some of our sellers finally hit 6 figures during COVID. It was crazy.
It's impossible to predict. That was the opposite of my prediction. I figured everybody would be hoarding their money thinking that the economy was going to crash, and the exact opposite happened. And the exact thing that I'm saying now happened. Corporations started price gouging people, and they still haven't stopped. Most of the prices have not gone down to pre-COVID prices. And my estimate is that that's probably going to happen again. I think that's probably what's going to happen because no laws or anything were enforced during that time frame. Companies are still scalping people, and it's only going to get worse. So that's really the only two directions it can go. Either people are going to spend more money on the internet or people are going to spend less money. I do predict, however, during the next recession that we're going to see a lot more people selling on Etsy, just like we did during COVID. Etsy had a huge boom in new sellers because people are looking for secondary passive income to supplement their income while they either can't go to work, can't get enough hours, or their job gets bought out by somebody else. So we don't know. I try not to talk on that stuff too much because it gets really political really fast, and I don't
do that here.
Yeah, I don't like to do that here unless I have to. So if a listing all of a sudden gets a lot of views and sales organically, what would be the next step? Create more products like it, copy the SEO for similar products. You can't copy the SEO.
Yeah. You can copy. I mean, you can use some of the same keywords. I would use some of the same keywords. But yeah, I mean that tells you that there's demand for that type of product. Definitely don't touch that listing that's doing well. Make sure that you leave that alone. But totally. I would say create some similar products and see if they do good as well. Do them in little batches though. Add one more similar product and see how it does. And then add one more similar product and see how that does. That way you can make sure that you're testing to see if other things also do good.
I thought the Etsy swipe file for live shows was discontinued. I don't know what you're talking about.
Etsy swipe for live shows?
Like we weren't advertising?
Oh, no,
anymore?
the Etsy swiper. The swipe.
Oh!
Credit card swipe.
I said files. That's my bad. Yeah, is it?
I didn't think so. I just talked to somebody who used one.
Unless they're using, I have no idea. Somebody let us know that does live shows with their Etsy.
I just talked to somebody who used one.
How old is Bubbers? 7.5-ish?
Yeah.
I went to Hobby Lobby last week and I saw some Christmas stuff out. Hobby Lobby don't know what they want to do.
Oh, Hobby Lobby.
Automatic shipping calculation versus set shipping costs.
Well, if you set your shipping cost, then you know for sure. That's up to you. That's going to depend entirely on what you're...
Yeah, you should know how much it's going to cost to ship your product before you start selling them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times your estimate's probably going to be more accurate.
Yeah, I recommend that everybody takes their package boxed up and ready to go. Take it to the post office at a time when it's not super busy and say, weigh this for me. How much is it going to cost? Write that down. Add a couple more products, especially if they get rid of flat rate packages, which I heard one of our alphas said that their USPS is doing away with flat rate packages. I haven't found any actual information from USPS about it, but if they get rid of flat rate boxes, that's going to suck.
Yep. They're having trouble keeping up with the big corporate companies.
That's going to suck so bad.
They got to make money. Can you give an overview of the competitor tool on ERank? That'd take more time to set up and get ready than...
Yeah, this one's going to take a little bit more time. I recommend going to the ERank YouTube channel where Pam Duthie has been posting a ton of videos going over all of our tools. Pam, are you here? I think Pam did a video on our competitor tools over on the ERank channel. I recommend checking that out. I can always do a future video on it, but it would take a little bit more time than what we have to do it today.
Miranda said, don't forget to add Etsy's 5% on your shipping price.
Yes.
Yes. Is search volume affected by all sellers searching keywords during the research phase and adding on to the volume of search results and thereby inflating the real numbers? Probably. Yeah, because there's a lot of Etsy coaches who recommend using the Etsy search bar to do your SEO research because they don't understand how personalization and localization works.
Yeah, there's no way to strip sellers from
that's not the point. Either way, yes, most likely that is inflated by that. However, the thing is, people are going to be doing that keyword research within their own industry, and if you're a part of that industry, it's just more things that they think people are searching for. So it's going to be inflating it in a way that doesn't necessarily affect it, because there's probably going to be more people searching to buy a product than sellers searching to sell a product. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but I don't have an actual factual answer to that. That's just my guess. Skip. skip easy questions.
You know what? for the Ellie, you said what would you recommend for people just starting out? Watch my channel. There's no any question related to what do I do? I'm just starting out. How do I be successful?
Watch through our videos.
I've got thousands of videos across multiple subjects. Pick a subject and start tackling it. The main subjects you want to focus on are product photography, SEO. You want to focus on your branding. You want to focus on your social media marketing. That's a big one. I've got videos on all of those things.
How do you get around posting things that are copyrighted like Mickey Mouse? Don't do that. Don't. There's no, it's illegal. You don't get around it. And people do it, but they haven't been caught yet. Just like your neighbor might be doing drugs in his basement, but it doesn't mean that he's doing it legally, and it does not mean that he's not going to get caught. You take your idea and you throw it in the trash.
Don't do that.
Can one use Shopify instead of Etsy, as Etsy is so oversaturated?
You can do.
Where on the internet isn't oversaturated? And prove to me that Shopify is not an oversaturated platform full of Chinese sellers.
Shopify, you're competing on Google. Shopify
is more saturated.
Shopify is not an unsaturated niche. Shopify, just everything is saturated. The thing about Shopify is that you have a shop that you still have to advertise and get people into, whereas Etsy has a lot of sellers, but they also have a lot of buyers. You're in a busy shopping mall on Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
You can do technically whatever you want. You can do both, but don't not sell on Etsy because you think that Etsy's too saturated. Everything is saturated. You're never going to escape saturation. That just means that there's more buyers as well.
Can you explain the difference between ERank's keyword tool, keyword explorer, keyword tool?
Yes, keyword tool is what you should be using. Keyword Explorer, the only benefit that we don't have integrated into the keyword tool yet is it gives you keyword data for other marketplaces. I don't use the Keyword Explorer anymore. Keyword tool, and then your keyword lists are just where you save keywords from the keyword tool so that you can reflect back on them later. I'll actually have a video on Tuesday covering all this.
My shop, Wedding.
Okay.
Was always on first page until COVID. It died completely. I let go until recently, worked on SEO and new photos, and it's been around 2 weeks and no sales. What else can I do to improve? You just gotta be consistent.
Let's backtrack. It was always on the first page. How are you determining that? Etsy search results are personalized. So that means that if you're going to Etsy to see where you are ranking, you are not seeing where you rank. Every single user search results are personalized. The only way to see where you would be minus that layer of personalization is with ERank's rank checker tool. Now, assuming that you are telling me your rank based on the rank checker tool where you would be, before personalization is applied, because that data comes directly from Etsy's API. If you've only waited 2 weeks, that is not enough time. And you do weddings. I mean, we're in spring. Wedding season is still,
a little way off.
Yeah, we're a little fresh right now. Usually June and July is when we start to see, more spikes. I would say that don't touch your SEO. Really start looking at what your competitors are doing in terms of their photos to make sure that your photos measure up, and start that social media marketing because really wedding season is going to be starting in June.
Can the shops you're tracking see that you're watching them?
Nope.
No. And the only way for them to be able to do that would be a privacy violation. So, no.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Meta says that those of us who have Facebook or the photo app that shall not be named, Instagram, shops have to allow in-app checkout versus pushing checkout on Etsy by 2024, or we won't be supported anymore. Thoughts?
No thoughts.
No thoughts.
They're
only meow meow.
I was going to say no thoughts. If that's what they're going to do, then that's what they're going to do. And there's nothing that you're going to say to change it. So that's fine. I mean, you've got to decide if that's what you want to do. They're not going to ban you from marketing through your posts if you don't have, one of those shops set up. So I don't really have any thoughts. It's their platform. They're ultimately going to do what they want.
Has anyone noticed the influx of freebie requests from all kinds of charities? Anything we should look out for? Yeah.
It's normal.
It's totally normal, and a lot of them are fake. What I think you should do, set yourself a standard, how many times a year you're going to do something like that and what specific kind of charities you're going to help. Do your research, ask for information about their charity to verify that it's actually real. I mean, any real charity organization will be expecting that kind of response. Like, you know, hey, can I have your tax ID information? Like, can I have all the stuff that a charity is required to have? And then it's your choice. You don't have to feel bad about not donating to a charity. You do it every time you go to the grocery store, right? You donate, you know, every once in a while, but sometimes you're like, not today. It's the same thing on Etsy. You don't have to donate something. You're not obligated to donate something to a charity. You can't solve all the world's problems with your print-on-demand T-shirt with a mushroom on it. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Don't let people guilt trip you. I send a message usually, you know, like, hey, unfortunately, I have a set number of charities that I donate to each year that I already have verified with my accountant. So I don't really have a budget for this year to be able to donate to any additional charities. You know, have your own charities that you've selected.
Set yourself some standards and stick to it, just like you do with like disciplining a child.
Exactly.
Stick to what you say you're going to do and be honest with the charities, or flat out ignore it because they have sent that same message to 50,000 other people.
Speaking of which, today's charity is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We've already raised $351 through our last few weeks, so please consider donating. It goes to a great cause.
And none of it goes to us.
We don't see any of that money. It gets donated straight to them, and you can donate somewhere on the chat.
Should I continue with the strategy and just upload daily, or should I change this up? Uploading daily does not benefit you in any way, shape, or form, so you can give that up whenever you feel.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. If it's time, if you want to do it that way, you can, but don't assume that that is a strategy that you need to maintain, because ultimately it doesn't mean anything.
Nope. I sell higher end skull jewelry and octopus related items. They sell okay. I'm considering branching out to more trendy or cutesy items to increase sales. Bad idea for my brand.
It doesn't match what you've just described to me very much, unless you did like a pastel goth type thing.
What other stuff are people interested in that brand? Because you say stuff like that, that kind of to me sounds like stuff that like bikers here would be interested in, skulls and like nautical items.
Or is it more like oddities type things?
Yeah, figure out what other people or what other things in that industry and maybe move on to that. Yeah, moving into cutesy stuff and trendy stuff will probably sell more in the immediate, but then you're going to be stuck with inventory when that thing's not cute or trendy anymore. So I like stick with your niche. Stick with your niche and try to branch out within the niche. Don't try to branch out of the niche.
Right. Or start an additional business with the trendy stuff, but the cutesy things and then skulls and octopuses, unless you can somehow make them like pastel goth and incorporate in the cutesy with the skulls, it sounds like you would be jumping out of that niche.
Which is better, single keywords that don't repeat or long tail keywords that do?
Neither is better.
Neither is better.
Single keywords that don't repeat, neither is better. You're either gonna exact match for a term by making sure that the keywords are all right next to each other, creating a long tail keyword that makes sense, or you're going to broad match with terms that aren't necessarily next to each other, but they are all contained within like your title. I would recommend watching last week's episode of the Friday Bean where I optimized listings. Either way, you know, you don't need to repeat a ton of words. You will still broad match for them. But neither is better. Is
today the Mondayest Friday ever? It is for me, man. My ADHD is on it today. I'm just like sitting here. That video of from Tim and Eric where he like when the space is just out here. I'm out there somewhere. I don't know where I'm at.
Got like 2 minutes. Let's do it.
We got 2 minutes. Can we talk more about Etsy ads? Good God, no. We've already talked about it so much. We're done with it for today.
You gotta be more specific about your questions.
Is there a way for ERank to know or filter out Etsy customer searches from seller searches? No,
there's no possible way to know who.
And like I said, it probably doesn't affect it enough.
And not to mention sellers are also buyers too. So there's no way to know if they were researching.
How does this affect search trends? Again, I don't think it affects search trends at all. The thing is, I'm seeing questions that we hadn't even answered the prior one that we were talking about when we asked this. So does Chat AI have access to keywords for Etsy?
No.
Hold on. Maybe. However, first of all, Chat AI is not as big of a company as unless Chat AI is based off of OpenAI.
I would assume so.
Data panels are older than now. They're not typically reading what's on the internet as they're doing it. They are given kind of like what ERank does. They are given a huge data set, or they are given a portion of the internet from a specific date. OpenAI's ChatGPT, for instance, is, do you remember what the date for that is? It's like over a year.
September 2021.
September 2021. It doesn't have information any more recent than then. So if it does have keywords, they're dated. And if it's around the same time as ChatGPT's, then it's dated to like literally COVID. So they're not going to be relevant. So no. Not a question, but ADHD. Thank you for making your content engaging. Ditto with your high quality production values. Thank you. I work really hard making our videos look and sound good, and she works really hard making them interactable.
Yeah.
Or not interactable, but flashy, whatever the word is. I'm stupid right now. Hour and a half stream, the dumb brains out. What amount would you think no more ad questions.
I was going to say, we don't really, there's no set magical amount. There's no magical equation for Etsy ads. Advertise your bestsellers is my strategy. Anything else is a gamble, and it is fine to gamble whatever you're willing to gamble, understanding that it is a gamble. That's the basic answer. There is no magic formula. If you want to, learn a little bit more, check out the ERank.com ROI calculator. It can kind of help you to set an ad budget to ensure that you're making a return on your investment, or to help you to make a return on your investment. But there really are no magical formulas. It's just whatever you're willing to gamble. It's no different than what is the best amount to spend on lottery tickets. Well, however much you want to potentially lose, it's totally up to you, though.
I'm just going to answer this one here. I'm so burnt out on Etsy right now. How do you stick with something and focus when you're working against ADHD tendencies? I'm recently diagnosed, and I'm in the process of learning my own patterns. I actually recently also just found out that I had ADHD. I was diagnosed as a child. I just thought it was normal for people to stare at a wall for an hour and a half doing nothing. It's do what your medical professional recommends. That's what I can say from a legitimate standpoint. But you have to figure out what works for you. Identify what sets off your triggers and figure out how to fight them off. If you like to stare in space at a wall because you're sitting at a chair, find a way that you can stand up while you're working. Get yourself something to fidget with. And I have a cough drop, perfect little fidget toy. It's terrible ASMR. You know what I'm saying?
Your the legend planners that I made a video for in January. Planners, writing things down.
This helped me a ton. I just thought, again, it was normal for people to just forget half of the things that they're supposed to do. Turns out it's not. So get yourself a planner. That helps me too. Caffeine or not caffeine, if caffeine makes your symptoms worse. But yeah, there's not really any way to answer that.
Yeah, everybody's going to have something different. I do have a great video on my channel called How to Run a Business with Anxiety. But I think that a lot of the strategies that I share for anxiety can be applied to a lot of, different mental health conditions. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, like, these strategies helped with this. They helped with that. So
study your condition.
Yeah.
Get a book on it.
Consider checking it out, and learning more about it will help you. That's how I ultimately, I don't want to say I overcame anxiety, but I know how to live hand in hand with my anxiety in a way that it's no longer crippling to me 99% of the time.
Same with my ADHD.
Yeah.
I get more done now that I have that than I have in my entire life. And if I would have known, I would have tried to treat it earlier. I just thought I was normal and lazy. And this is actually a good point. Evil Squirrel said, personally, I find my most productive moments to set a timer and remain focused, but not obsessed. That's actually, there's a technique that's used within music. I just learned this a couple of weeks ago. And I mean, it sounds simple, but if you're the kind of person that likes to hyper focus on a task and you end up overdoing what you're doing because you spend way too much time on one task, get yourself a little thing that you can set a 15-minute timer on, work on that thing for 15 minutes. When that timer goes off, finish the step that you're on, do something else. If you need to come back to it, write it down in your planner or whatever, but only work on something for 15 minutes. Don't allow yourself to hyper focus for too long. And if you set yourself a timer, you have a physical reminder that, hey, I need to move on. I have other things to do. And it has changed my musical writing dramatically. And you can apply that to anything in your life. If you hyper focus on working on the yard, I spent 45 minutes trying to pull out these three, move on. There's other things that you can do. But I think that's all we're going to have time for.
Other than Robert, who asked if I have a bike tattoo on my left, like, or your left. I have
a bike tattoo. It's a key.
It's, I think, do you mean this one or this? This one has a lot more. This one's mostly wolves. Wolf, mermaid, wolf, Bayside tattoo for my favorite band. Somebody else asked about my shirt, but their username is Bayside Christmas. Bayside the band. Bayside tattoo, Bayside shirt. I love Bayside.
She loves it. I'll be going to get my next tattoo. We're done with questions, by the way, if you want to bounce out. I'll be getting my next tattoo on like the 23rd, something like that. I'm getting a Leshen from The Witcher sleeve.
Ooh.
Or half sleeve. It's gonna be nice. I'm gonna fill it out, fill out the guns. All right. that'll be it for this week. Make sure that if you guys haven't any applicable links and stuff, anything that you want to like sign up for is down below.
Free stuff.
We upload videos every Tuesday and we go live every Friday. She goes live over on ERank's channel every Thursday. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to, see when we upload content. If you use the YouTube app, you can go one step further. You can click that little bell icon to get notified when we go live. My left, you're backwards. You get notified when we go live or when we upload videos.
Yeah. And this upcoming Tuesday's video is going to just be how to use ERank for Etsy. And we are going to be starting, because there's just way too much to cover in one video, we are going to be starting with how to read everything that's on your Etsy dashboard and how to use the keyword tool and what the keyword tool is for. So some really good basic information and some stuff that even if you're an active ERank user, you might not have known existed, or maybe there were some features that you were unaware of. So definitely check that out. Handmade Alpha Academy, my 9-module Etsy training program, will be opening on June 14th through the 24th. We only open that twice a year for enrollment because, we're 2 people. We don't have any staff. We've got to keep those class sizes smaller. There is no limit to how many people can sign up during that time, but we're only open for those 10 days to get in.
It's easier to track.
It is completely self-paced. Even if you join in June, if you're not able to start until like after summer, that's fine. You can start it whenever. You own it when you get it. But everything is guided and video based. You get an amazing Facebook group of all past students. You get my personal email address. So if you have any questions at any point, you actually get responses from me. And you get a bunch of bonuses. You get the Alpha Holiday Bootcamp. You get the Product Photography Essentials Workshop. You get my graphics chest of like 470 marketing graphics. You get the ad fuel bonus. You get, I can't even remember all the bonuses. There's so many of them. But guys, thanks so much for hanging out, and we will see you next week.
Said I want a dandelion from the Witcher tat now. Have you read the books though? He's quite the womanizer. Those books were written a while ago. All right, we love you guys. We'll see you next week. We got to wave. Keep your waving. Keep waving. She's working on an outro for it.
Oh,